So my slides are visible and my voice is audible to all. Hello, my slides are visible and my voice is
Yes,
audible.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. So we are good to go, and we have come to the last session for the second day. So this session is in continuation to the fundamentals of EIA, what we have started yesterday. We have seen all the genesis of EIA, various laws and policy, as well as we have seen the air environment also. So now in next 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes, I will try to cover water environment as well as I will briefly touch on the noise environment also. So we'll start now. Okay. Now, for each component of environment, which we usually do for prediction and assessment, I told you that there will be some set of steps which you need to follow in EIA. And based on the questions which were asked yesterday, for air and other thing, I would like to mention you that this whole course and is the whole content is channelized towards fulfilling the criteria in EIA. We can do some other works also because the field is vast. There will be some other assessments and all. So you can ask me doubts, but what we can fulfill from this course is that how much of that research or how much of that quantum of work is required to fulfill an EIA, and that is what the theme of the course is. So you can ask the doubt, you can mention it also, but what to expect from it is that how this can be used to fulfill the environmental impact assessment report. So similarly, like we have seen in air, there will be some series of steps. Like first, we need to identify the water pollutants. Water pollutants will be emanated from the particular industry. Then we have to describe the existing surface water quantity and quality levels. If suppose nearby there is some lake or nearby some river or water body, that we need to describe. Then if suppose some particular industry is there, so that unique pollution problem also we need to share. Okay, let's say sometimes some e-waste recycling unit is there. So in that particular effluent, there will be some metals related to integrated circuits and other things which may not be there in a normal domestic wastewater. So like that we have to see. Then we have to also describe the groundwater quantity and quality which will be required for the project. And in this case also we need to give summary of meteorological information because surface water and groundwater both are affected by rainfall in a certain year. So that we need to see. Then again, like yesterday, we have to see the water quality standards because one or the other way we have to compare it with the existing standard. Then once we know how much waste has been generated, we have to see the waste load allocation study. Waste load allocation means suppose if X amount of waste is being generated from the industry, we have to think how much we are going to treat, and from the treated water, how much we are going to discharge in the river and how much we will recycle back. Okay, that is come from the waste load allocation study. And finally, using mathematical models or other types of model, we will do prediction of impacts and we'll give the pollution control measures. So this will be the 8 to 9 steps which we will be following for the water environment while carrying out EID. Now, first we'll start with the sources of water when we start any developmental activity. So as we all know, broadly there are two sources only, surface water and groundwater. In surface water, we have lake, pond, river, stream, and some storage reservoirs like dam and other things. And in groundwater, we have open wells, tube well, artesian wells, springs, and through infiltration galleries. This will be infiltration galleries. Actually, broadly, all can be categorized in well itself except spring because all comes from groundwater only. So these are the sources of groundwater and these are the sources from surface water. And overall, this constitutes the primary source of water for any developmental project. Okay. Then once we know what is the source of water for that particular developmental activity, first we need to understand that from that industry, what will be the source of water pollution, or from any developmental activity, what will be the source of water pollution. So First, I would like to draw your attention towards the two types of sources of water pollution based on its nature, or based on its geographical location. So there are two types: point source and non-point sources. Okay, there are various classifications of water pollution. The two chief sources are this one. Okay, point sources and non-point sources. Point means you can imagine very well. Point refers to the pollutants that belong to a single source. Okay, for point source pollution refer to contaminants that enter a waterway through a discrete conveyance such as pipe or ditch. And okay, right. So here I know that from this point only water, wastewater is being discharged. So for me it is a point source. Okay, discharges from sewage treatment plant, emission from factory water are some of the examples of point sources. Second one comes non-point sources. Now, when I say non-point sources, that means there is no single point for that. Okay. So non-point on the other hand means pollutants emitted from multiple sources. There may be more than one source. So a contaminated water after rain that is traveled through several regions may also be considered as a non-point source pollution. Okay. It is also called as NPS, non-point source. And non-point source pollution refers to diffuse contamination that does not originate from a single discrete source. Like in previous slide, we have this single discrete source, but in this case, it is not like that. Okay, and NPS pollution is often a cumulative effect of small amounts of contaminants gathered from a large area. Here you can see that here some city. Okay, here some agricultural land. Here some developmental activity. Here some road. And due to factory, some point sources are also there. But whenever there is a rainfall, all will collectively go to the river. That's why they are called as non-point sources. Okay, and one of the example I've given it is that the leaching out of nitrogen compounds from agricultural land which has been fertilized is a typical example of non-point source. So I hope point pollution sources and non-point pollution sources are clear to you. Okay, this is also one of the example. This is a river, same only but in a different perspective. There will be some rural homes, urban street, suburban development, cropland, animal field or factory, and all will be slowly coming to the river. This red arrows shows the pollution. Okay. Now, one thing we need to understand is that unlike air, water has very different type of pollutant which you need to see. In air, there are pollutants, there is no doubt, but if you are able to understand 5 to 6 pollutants out of them, you will be able to frame some mitigation strategies and management measures. But in case of water, there are different kind of things because usually it will be passes through human body as well as through some kind of process, right? That's why the number of pollutants in water are more. We'll start one by one. First one is infectious agents. Okay, first one is infection agents like bacteria, viruses, protozoa, parasitic worms, etc. And what is the source of this one is human and animal waste. The water touches from human and animal waste, it will impart infectious agents in the environment. Okay. Second one is oxygen demanding waste. There will be some waste which will demand oxygen is this in the system like organic debris and waste plus aerobic bacteria. Okay, the source of this one is sewage, feedlots, paper mill, food processing, etc. These are some example, but there are many sources. And in typical wastewater engineering, usually oxygen demanding waste are characterized by BOD and COD. Okay, BOD and COD. So this is the second type of category of water pollution. Third one is inorganic chemicals like acids, metals, salt. Acid, metal, salt means in that heavy metals are also there like iron, nickel, chromium, cadmium, arsenic. Then salts, different kind of salts. So the sources of this is surface runoff, industrial effluents, and household cleaners. In this kind of things only, these inorganic chemicals will be imparted in water system. Fourth one is radioactive material like iodine, radon, uranium, cesium, and thorium. And these kind of things are mostly found when the steady area is nearby a coal and nuclear power plants, nearby any mining, any weapon protection area, or sometimes it may be nature also. Like in Kollam district of Kerala, there is one region called Nindakara Kayankulam block. So in that whole region, the sand contains heavy minerals. With that heavy minerals, some radioactive minerals are also there. So like that, it will sometimes it will be natural also. Okay, then afterwards there will be nutrients in the water, especially plant nutrients. Of course, in that nitrates and phosphates are there, and why nutrients are important is because if you don't remove nutrients from the wastewater before discharging it into the river, it will lead to eutrophication. Okay, it will lead to eutrophication. Eutrophication means there will be a lot of vegetation and greenery which will grow in the river, and it will hinder the natural path of the river. Okay, it will hinder the natural path of the river, and the sources are sewage, manure, agricultural and landscaping runoff. Next one will be organic chemicals. Okay, these are organics. This may also cause some oxygen demand, but this is different from this one. In this, mostly sometimes there will be oils and grease. Okay, gasoline, plastics, pesticides, solvents, and detergent. Its sources are industrial effluents, household cleansers, runoff from farms and yards. Okay, so here this plastic, when I say plastic, you don't assume as normal plastic. It is like polymer of plastic, which is organic in nature. Okay, and sometimes there will be some eroded sediment also from nearby land, like soil and silt, that will also contribute to the pollution load in the river. Okay, and finally there will be some heat and thermal pollution. We all know that if we need to see, we need to use water properly, it should have a temperature equal to the ambient temperature. Okay, if it is winter time, it should be cold. If it is summer, it should be hot. But many times when nearby a thermal power plant or any other kind of processing industry is there, which is using water in their cooling towers, that other water which they will be discharging will have a temperature higher than the normal river. And when they discharge that water in the nearby water body, it becomes difficult for the aquatic life to sustain because of the increase in temperature and increase in some other kind of pollution. That's why heat and thermal pollution is also one of the category of pollution. And of course, its sources are power plants and some industries. So I hope this all the categories of water pollutions are crystal clear to you. Now, when we say we have to generate baseline data generation for water, what exactly we have to do? That we'll see now one by one. So first we need to see the sources of water from where that industry will take their requirement and utilization and how they will utilize. Second, we need to do the detailed water balance. Water balance means, let's say this is the industry. It is requiring X amount of water and there are processes. 1, 2, 3, 4 processes. Each process, how much water it will require. X1, X2, X3, and then finally output of Y. So we need to see the detailed water balance in which process, how much water they are requiring. Then we need to do the breakup of water requirement as per different activities. We have to say that in process 1, X1 amount of water is required. Process 2, X2 amount is required. Process 3, X3, and then so on. Now, that was one part. Out of that, we need to also see if suppose X amount of water is required, how much to be taken from surface water and how much to be taken from groundwater. Okay, so if we are taking from surface water, we should know the locations of representative monitoring station, that where we will monitor it, and details of rivers, springs, lakes, reservoirs, and drains in the area. Those all details we should know. Then analysis of water quality parameters to assess water quality, right? And at the same time, we need to delineate the watersheds and water drainage pattern so that we can find out if there is a heavy rainfall, how the water will flow. Then surface water balance also sometimes we need. And we should also know the lean season flow of the nala from where water is drawn. What is lean season flow is that when there is no rainfall, when there is no rainfall, there will be some minimum flow that is called as lean season flow. Okay, from where the water is drawn. Then if suppose I need to take the groundwater, then I should see what is the potential for groundwater to take water, how I will recharge it, and I should also do the groundwater budgeting. At the same time, I should also see hydrogeology and aquifer characteristics of the area. Then again, I should see groundwater quality, groundwater potential, and groundwater table in the area. If the table is too low, I have to depend on the surface water. If table is high, I will balance some of the part from groundwater. So collectively, I have to use it. And of course, these things also like the details of location of groundwater observation wells and the monitoring stations, whatever we are giving should cover the whole study area. So these things we will see when we are generating baseline data. Now, when we come to the quality of the water, we need to see what is our intent. Okay, if you are giving consultancy to some industry, or if you are if you are preparing a EIA report for industry, you should know that after treatment or whatever measures you are giving, what is the intent of your treated water? Whether you would like to directly discharge into the river, or you want to use it for drinking, or you want to use it for irrigation or anything. So for different set of use, there are different pollutants which we should see. Okay, like suppose if you want to take their water for drinking, then water should be pure, wholesome, and potable. There is no doubt in that. If you want to use that water for irrigation, then TDS and toxicant should be in limit, total diesel solid and toxicant. If you want to do for outdoor bathing, then pathogen should not be there. Otherwise, it will lead to diseases taking bath in that. And if you are trying to supply it to industry, there will be some specific water quality need, which we need to see. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you see all those whatever I have shown you in the previous slide, it can be divided in these 4 or 5 things. First, particles, organics, some ions, negatively charged or positively charged, bacteria. So basically, all the contaminants in water can be characterized into this particular classes of particles, gases, organics, ants, and bacteria. So when you are preparing a EIA report, you have to separately say what you will do for the particles, what you will be doing for gases, organics, ants, and bacteria. And also based on the type of industry, it is not necessary that gases and ions may be there. Okay. If there are no human involvement, bacteria may also not be there. But if human involvement is there, urination, defecation, all these things are there, then bacteria may also be there. So like that, you have to judge and see. Now, when you do water analysis, we need to keep some important things in mind. Okay, some key factors we need to keep in mind. So first thing is that sampling should be proper. Okay, then selection of parameters should be proper. At the same time, in doing all this, precision and accuracy to be maintained. If you are taking sample from one place to other place, you have to do preservation also, and you have to report the values in proper form. And at the same time, when first you have taken that, proper labeling to be done, because many times you will do everything correct, but the labeling is wrong. So you are mentioning particular water quality for a wrong sampling location. So when you are doing for water quality analysis, you have to keep all these things in mind. Okay, now we'll just see what are the sample and what types of sample we can do it. So when we hear this word sample, what does it comes in our mind? What is a sample? Sample is a part of the whole that can be examined to see what the rest is like. Suppose this is a river of length L. So whole river I cannot take for my analysis. There will be certain volume. So I'll collect some water samples only. I will collect some water samples only. Let's say this is S1, S2, S3 and S4. These are called samples. A portion of the whole is called sample. Okay. And sampling is what? To collect a small portion representing water body, segment of water body. Now there are two samples. One will be grab or catch sample. Other one will be a composite sample. Okay, so as the name indicates, grab or catch means you will go and randomly select some sample from a particular location. Okay, from a particular location at a particular time. Particular location. Particular location and particular time. Okay, but when you are taking a composite sample, you will see that since there are 24 hours in a day and there may be some variation in water quality in morning and evening time, so you will collect some 8 to 10 samples. Let's say every 3 hours you have collected one sample. So in 24 hours, 8 to 10 samples, and then you will mix that sample. That will be the composite water quality of that location. So grab or catch sample and composite sample. This composite either you can make based on the time, or either you can make based on the location of the sampling location. Now, when you are uh, designing a water sampling program, you have to know some certain things. Okay, you have to know certain things which you should do. First is that you should know what is your clear-cut objective is, what parameters you are going to study, what levels of accuracy you require, and what will be the use of the data. Then you have to decide the sampling location, right? Then you have to decide the sampling frequency, whether you will be collecting once only, or you will be collecting once in 2 hours, 3 hours, like that. Then you have to go for sample collection. After that also, once you have collected the sample, you have to see whether on the spot analysis to be done. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake. Whether on the spot analysis to be done, or we have to preserve the sample and taken to the laboratory. Then analytical methods and instrumental techniques, what all are there we use. And lastly, data handling and reporting. So this is a proper water sampling program. When you are framing it, you have to see all these points one by one by one. Okay. Now we will see some of the important parameters which usually everyone see in water quality modeling and monitoring, especially when you are when you are doing EIA. So first one of them is turbidity. Okay, so turbidity is what? It is the expression of the optical property that causes light to be scattered and absorbed. So if the water is more turbid, you will not be able to see after that, and the causes light will be scattered and absorbed, as I say, in the morning time. And why it happens? It happens because of presence of suspended matters like silt, clay, fine organic, and plankton and microscopic organism. Why it is important? Because it decreases the aesthetic quality of the water. And also, if you are selling this in a beverage or food industry, clear water is the only requirement. Okay. And we measure it in NTUs, nephelometric turbidity units, and formazine polymer is used as a reference turbidity standard. Okay, there are some nephelometers for that, which we use to find out the turbidity. Second one is DO. It is called dissolved oxygen. And why it is required? Because dissolved oxygen is what? It is critical for survival of aquatic plants and animals. Okay. Well, what is the importance is that it should be between 5 to 6 ppm. If it is not like that, then it will not be sufficient for most species. If it is less than 3 ppm, then it will be stressful to most aquatic species. And if it is less than 2 ppm, it will be fatal, sometimes deadly also. So some dissolved oxygen should always be there in the surface water. Now, what are the factors affecting DO? Like plants and animal respiration, right? Decomposition of waste. If the waste has been decomposed, it will require oxygen and it will suck from the water. Then only it will decompose. That's why we say that don't discharge wastewater in the rivers. Then fresh water hold more oxygen than salt water, that we always know. And cold water hold more oxygen than warm water. Also, greater the atmospheric pressure, the more will be the dissolved oxygen, because it will mix that. It will mix that. Okay, these are the factors which affect dissolved oxygen in a river system. Now, how do we do it? As far as the titration is concerned, modified Winkler method is there. And nowadays probes are also there. Sensor based probe which will measure the dissolved oxygen. But anyway, still till date, many scientists and academicians use modified Winkler method because they consider it to be the highly specific and accurate. Second one is BOD. I already told you BOD is what? Biochemical oxygen demand. Okay, biochemical oxygen demand. So what is BOD? It is a bioassay test. It is a bio.
चारों बना दें और 5 मिनट बिली करो.
So it is a bioassay test. It is a bioassay test involving measurement of oxygen consumed by microorganisms while stabilizing biologically decomposable organic matter under aerobic condition. So suppose some particular mass of paste is there in the river system, it will require oxygen to degrade and stabilize this biological matter. And when it requires oxygen, it will take from the river itself. So that oxygen demand is known as biochemical oxygen demand. If the BOD is only between 1 to 2 ppm, it is very good. If it is 3 to 5, it is fair. If it is 6 to 9 ppm, it is somewhat polluted, and if it is greater than 10, we can categorize it. It is very polluted and contains organic waste. Now, why we need to do BOD? Because the degree of pollution in water sources can be only known using BOD. And also BOD also gives us a measure of the self-purification capacity of sources. Okay, because in a river, if it is flowing and you are putting some waste, after a certain time, the river itself will purify the waste and it will convert it to simpler end compounds like CO2 and H2O. So for that also we require BOD to know whether it will be able to self-purificate or not. And also, of course, if you want to design treatment facilities, then also BOD is required. And also, if you have already built a wastewater treatment plant, you need to know the efficiency of your treatment method. That's why you will require BOD. And in this case also, usually we'll do like 0-day DO and 5-day DO, and we will minus from 5th to 0-day. And in this case also, Winkler method is used. With that, we can work out the demand of the oxygen, biological oxygen, biochemical oxygen demand. Now the second one is COD. Okay, this is also oxygen demand, but this is a chemical oxygen demand. Okay, and here what important thing you need to keep in mind is that this demand comes only when there is oxidation by a strong chemical oxidant. Okay, only when there is oxidation by a strong chemical oxidant. So oxygen equivalent of the total organic matter in a water sample that is susceptible to oxidation by strong chemical oxidant. And always remember that COD will always be greater than the BOD for any given sample. And even if it is unpolluted water, COD will be more than 20. Why? Because I am oxidizing inorganic metals also. Okay, organic metals, BOD, and some inorganic metals like nitrates, phosphate, and other things also I am degrading. So in that case, COD will always be greater than the BOD. Now, why we do COD is that because BOD anyway it takes 5 days always. Okay, BOD anyway it takes 5 days, but COD takes 2 hours only. That's why COD is a good measure of oxygen demand. And of course, we do it to assess the water pollution to determine pollution load of wastewater and designing our treatment facilities. Measurement we do using K2CR2 ocean potassium dichromate solution. And sometimes there may be some interferences in doing the experiments like some fatty acids, strates and aliphatic compounds, chlorides and nitrites. So we need to see whether these interferences are there. If they are there, first we should remove the interferences, then only we should carry out the experiment for COD. Okay. Now up to this point, any doubt? Then only I'll proceed further. Up to this point, someone of you want to ask something or any doubt? Anyone? Are you able to hear me? Or or you are tired? I hope you are not tired by now. Grishma KV, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how is going by now? Like this is the almost the end of the second day, whether you are able to go parallelly with the instructors or how it's going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's good. Can
Okay.
catch up what uh, instructors are telling.
Okay. Okay. Okay, then. So if there are no doubts, we will proceed with the modeling part. Okay. Now up to this point, I have just give you a brief of what water quality is, what are parameters we have to see. I have also briefed you some very important water quality parameters like COD, BOD, turbidity, and DO. And now we will see the mathematical modeling of this part. Again, as I said, this modeling like air quality modeling, water quality modeling are a whole different phenomena. But when you do it, you require remote sensing and GIS, which is what the objective of our course is. So in that way only, we will be only briefly touching these parts. So again, as you all know, what modeling is? Mathematical modeling. A model is a representation of a physical phenomena, process, or object. Okay, because we cannot do it on a big scale, we will create a model out of it. Okay, and it is designed with a specific purpose. It may be we may be doing it for natural sciences, we may be doing it for engineering disciplines, or maybe social sciences. And what models do is that models help to expand the knowledge and understanding a natural phenomena, process, or object. They help us to understand that how the system is growing or working. I will show you in the case studies after the uh, half day of fourth day and whole fifth day. Then you will understand that how remote sensing GIS and models are clubbed together. And there are various models which we are keep developing from earliest times to understand the universe out of our curiosity and concern to control the environment. Okay. Now, what types of models are available with us? So first one is of course physical model, and in many cases where you create dams or water body, mostly we will be creating a physical model, and we will scale it down. We will make a prototype and we'll try to do it. That if suppose this much water is being discharged, how it will go. So it may be scaled up or it may be scaled down, and it should look like a real world object or process, like models of a building, toys, laboratory, etc. Then comes analog models. It is solely basing on the graph and statistics, like graphs, pie chart, histogram, and then we try to work out something from it statistically. Then comes mathematical models, which are expressions, two-dimension equation, three-dimension equations. Okay, and which are very useful in understanding dynamical systems like river, etc. So mathematical model comes under deterministic models. An analog model comes under empirical models that you need to understand. Now, why we should have a mathematical model, or why we should do it? We all know that there is economic development, right? Population is growing like anything, and then there is pollution, solid waste pollution, also river pollution, also. So we need to evaluate the system and predict the impact of various activity on natural resources beforehand. Means I should not wait for the problem to occur. I should proactively think and see how I can predict the problem now itself and make a mitigation measures out of it. And that is what for EIA is. EIA is like we have to predict beforehand, right? Beforehand, we have to predict all the things. Now, if you see what types of models are available to carry out modeling activity for EIA. So if you are doing data-driven modeling, ANOVA is there, analysis of variance, principal component analysis, vector analysis, differential analysis. AHP is also there, analytical hierarchy process, then multi-criteria decision making, MCDN, FAHP, support vector machines, SVDs, design of experiments, butterfly models, and chaos theory. These are all very higher level statistical terms, but you should know what all things can be used for doing mathematical and statistical modeling. Then we have differential equation based models like population growth model, Newton's law of cooling, then Gaussian model and differential equations. At the same time, we have some statistical validation techniques like t-test, f-test, and correlation analysis. And also we have some numerical models which I have shown in air pollution also, like Newton, Raphson, and other kind of things which keep on iterating unless we get the required value. Okay. So you have to keep in mind that different models for different purposes, right? It will vary in terms of processes and phenomena considered. And also governing mathematical equation will also vary. At which equation you will use in what? I'll show you one case study in which I did this water quality modeling for EIA for Malad Creek, Malad and Manuri Creek in Mumbai. There you will completely understand how mathematics, then model, and then GIS collectively implied, and a decision was made out of it. Then you will completely understand. By that time, you can just simply understand the terms how it is going. Now, we have seen that there are different types of mathematical models, statistical models, all other things are there. Now we need to understand that there will not be any single parameter which will be used to declare water as good or bad. So what we have to do is that we have to do a overall water quality modeling. Okay, it can be done parameter wise also. Usually we require overall. So what we do is that in this we use mathematical formula to discuss the spatial distribution of pollutant in a water body, and this is termed as water quality modeling. And water flow is the fundamental cause of variability in water quality that you have to always keep in mind. If water is flowing, it will somehow clean itself always. If it is not flowing, then it will be a problem. Okay, so water flow is the fundamental cause of variability in water quality. And water quality modeling study involves like hydrodynamics in that pollutant transfer plus biochemical transformation processes. It will change. BOD will change to some simpler in compound, and at the same time some pollutant will be transferred. And where it is useful, like of course it is useful for water quality management in diagnosis of factors responsible for water quality problems. Sometimes you don't know from where pollution is occurring, but if you apply model in it, it will tell you that after from a certain point 10 kilometer before it or 5 kilometer before it, the values are more. That means someone is introducing that pollution there. And of course, one of the main objective of EIA to predict the impact of various projects, environmental factors for our developmental activity. That is what one of the objective is. Okay, now what are the water quality problems? When you see that that water quality modeling to be done, you are going to a river and you see that there is decrease in water transparency, there is destruction of aquatic habitat, there is decrease in storage capacity of lakes and reservoir, there is eutrophication of water bodies. Just now I told you that there will be some unhindered or very exploitative growth of vegetation in river. Then concentration in the tissue of aquatic organism like fish. Okay, there are researches going on in which they are clearly saying that nowadays whatever fish you are eating, some or the other pollutants are there. There are elevated levels of heavy metals in the fish. There are elevated levels of some other pollutants. So those pollution is ultimately going into the tissue of the fish, and that fish you are eating. Then death of aquatic organism by itself, you are seeing that they are died, and carcinogenic to humans. Of course, this is all these are cancer causing also. Okay, now up to this point you have seen. Now what type of contaminant I am showing you is related to a modeling activity. Earlier what I have shown you is general parameter. Now here it is related to modeling activity. So sediment will be modeled differently. Plant nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen will be modeled differently. Oxygen demanding waste will be modeled differently. Heavy metals will be modeled differently. So is synthetic organic chemicals, then dissolved solids, especially salinity, microorganisms and acidifying compounds. So when you are modeling it, these things goes separately in a model. And of course, some micropollutant like large debris, silts and other things. Now, once you know all the things, what you have to do is that you have to give an overall index of pollution. I told you earlier that based on the 1 point only, you will not be able to make a decision out of it, just on the basis of 1 point. So you have to give an overall index of pollution, and you should able to say that whether my water quality is excellent, it is acceptable, slightly polluted or highly polluted. Based on that only you have to calculate. And of course, how we calculate it similar to what we have done in air quality index. We will have some toxicity parameters, all right, like nitrate, total coliform, arsenic, iron, fluoride, etc. Then these are physico-chemical parameters, and there will be some bacteriological parameters. Combination of that we have to combine and then we have to come to a OIP, overall index of pollution. Then we have to see, because one parameter is good and other is not good, still it will not be workable for us. So in that way only we have to give. Now, when you are doing a EIA, once you complete the EIA, you have to frame a water quality communication a network. Okay, so in that one side there will be environmental engineers and scientists who will be doing indexing. Then that indexing has been given to policy and decision maker public. That again it has been shown to public and private users for use, and there will be public awareness and indexing again. Like that, this circle goes on: water body, environmental scientists, policy maker, decision maker, public awareness. Okay, so that way you have to set up a water quality communication network by which within the industry you and other people will be all in loop to communicate the water quality properly. Okay, now if suppose if I wish to do the river water quality modeling, there will be 2 to 3 ways for it. First is that I should know the hydrodynamics of the water body. Hydrodynamics means it is completely related to flow. Okay, it is completely related to flow. I'm not talking about any chemical one. But when I'm talking about water quality, I'm talking about the chemical properties. So in hydrodynamics, there will be 3D advective diffusion, 2D advective diffusion, and 1D transport. Okay, it will lead to some tidal effects also. Right, when the river is flowing, there will be tidal effect, as well as if it is a coastal region, there also there will be tidal effects like high tide line and low tide line. In water quality also, there will be physical pollutants, chemical pollutant, and biological pollutant, which I have already seen. And based on the combination of this, we will be deciding which model to use, whether 3D water quality model, 2D water quality model, or 1D water quality model, based on the intent of our use. Okay, so earlier I have shown you some models. Now we will see specific to it. If you want to use some data driven model, like suppose if you want to calculate WKI, there are dynamic OIP models, overall index of pollution models, which are developed by CPCP, SPCP. There are multi-criteria decision making, which is driven by fuzzy logic, which is mostly used for industry. And suppose if you want to make a cause-effect relationship, which I said yesterday in one of my fundamentals of EA class, then you have to apply Mike River Hydro. On this I have worked, and this only I'll be showing you in subsequent slide. You have to use Mike. And if you only want to model the nutrients in the system, then you have to use Nutril GIS. This is developed by my alma mater NIRI, where I worked for 3 years from 15 to 18. And sometimes you can have a combination of both models like risk finite. This is also developed by NIRI, and it will give you whether the water is safe or not, safe drinking water supply. So like that, you have to develop some models. I'll give you an interesting example of how modeling and mathematical modeling can help you. So this is the Parliament of UK. You can see here this Parliament of UK, and this is the famous river, Thames River. So there was oxidation of sewage created another condition in Thames estuary. Okay, sorry, estuary. Here it was so high that smell was so bad that Parliament and law courts has to be closed for some time. Then after some time they contacted some scientists and they have modeled out whole river, and they work out that at least after a certain point only this river has to be given a treatment plan. So you see now Thames estuary and river are considered to be one of the cleanest rivers in the world today. So that's how modeling added with transport and all helps us in creating an environment which is suitable for all. Okay, now I would like to share with you one of the benchmark equation in water quality modeling. It is called Streeter-Phelps equation, and till date people use it. Those who are from environmental science background, they may be knowing it. So in Streeter-Phelps equation, what it gives is that it will give you a critical point, or it will give you a distance that after which the particular mass of waste has become converted to simpler end compounds. Okay, it is converted to simpler end compounds. So this is the equation of Streeter-Phelps model, and it is based on the assumption that there is a steady flow, means with time it is not changing, and there is a uniform flow. Okay, both are the assumptions in that. So with this, we have come to the end of the water environment. Noise will take tomorrow in second half. And if you have any questions and if you would like to have any clarification, you can go ahead. Otherwise, we will wind up for today. Anyone? Before that, how many of you have seen the recordings of yesterday? Whether you are seeing it? Actually, the size was quite large. That's why I have uploaded it on my YouTube channel. That's my channel only. But it will be there for a limited time. Let's say 25 days to 30 days. Up to 30 October only. Before that, either you can download or you can watch it as many times you want. But it may not be there for always. So any doubt? Anyone? If no doubt means I will ask.